Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report Express for Wednesday, September 15th, 2009. Damian Nelson, the band they call me, to here with more of your email messages. And remember, PWR is live tonight on 540 ESPN, a special episode coming up tonight at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. But before we get to that, let's talk about the emails that we have gotten so far this week. First one comes from Jonathan Nolan, who says, there's a rumor at the WWE shareholders meeting that Vince wants a fifth TV show to be aired on Wednesdays. No, not the Pro Wrestling Report. That's going to be live tonight on 540 ESPN at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time.
Even though they do listen.
If that was to occur, what concept would they go for? An all Divas show or a fan voting clip show or something else? Also, if Raw and SmackDown had the exact same TV contract, which show do you think would do better in the ratings? I don't know what that means.
He means if they had the exact same scenario, be it, aired head-to-head, which one would do better in the ratings? If I may try to interpret.
It's two different shows. Let's go back to the original question about a WWE fifth show.
Please don't do it. Please don't do it.
We talked about that, I believe, last week on Primetime.
I'm talking about please don't air a fifth show. Please.
You know, we still have less wrestling now than we did during the height of the wrestling wars. You're just jealous because
I just don't want to. They've already spread it out so thin. Why spread
unless
it
it's
out?
fresh and new, like Shotgun Saturday night. There's no point in doing a different show unless, and we're already got at least planned 10 special episodes a year from TNA coming now. You got the Saturday night's main events of the world's random 3-hour Raws. I don't think there needs to be any more product from WWE.
Unless it's live.
This next email comes from Chuck, who says, why is WWE taking Ring of Honor's talent? I mean, it isn't ROH the breeding ground for some of TNA's talent, and with WWE changing their pay-per-views to gimmick pay-per-views, do you think they're trying to be like TNA?
No, it's Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor? If they were that protective of their talent, they'd have them signed to, guaranteed contracts, or they'd have them signed to exclusive contracts.
They do.
Then what's the difference if they're taking them? WWE
Well,
took
their
ECW.
contracts were up. Danielson and McGuinness.
So are you saying that you'd rather hold these guys down to making, a couple thousand a year versus a couple $100,000 a year? Let these guys make money. Let them move up.
But when these people leave Ring of Honor, as CM Punk did, as Evan Bourne did, Matt Sydal, now Nigel McGuinness and Bryan Danielson, it's a natural progression. It's viewed as a good thing. It's a good thing for Ring of Honor. It's a good thing for WWE or TNA. Because this is talent that was grown in that area, the talent that was brought up in that area, and obviously the new Dragon Gate promotion, which had an event last Sunday here in the Chicago area, which was ravely reviewed. That's always good for them to say, hey, we have built this talent that has gone on to be familiar on your weekly television shows. So I don't think it's a problem that WWE is taking that talent. However, they've got their own little organization called Florida Championship Wrestling, and they should be more focused on getting people from there. As they
should be
to
more
a degree.
focused on getting people to go to their shows.
Last question from Chuck is, do you think TNA should do Lockdown in Milwaukee at the Bradley Center?
I don't think they're going to work the Bradley Center at all. WWE, I believe, has an exclusive contract with the Bradley Center.
It's one of the most expensive buildings in the country for some reason as well.
Not understanding if they do or don't, that's fine. But I believe TNA, if they ran in the Milwaukee area, would use the U.S. Cellular Arena. Maybe the Milwaukee Auditorium.
TNA is scratching the surface of Milwaukee by coming to Racine on October 24th. Shepard Smith is loud over there today.
Shepard Smith. I am not on
October 24th at Racine and October 25th in
They will be the greatest spectacle in Racine. Once again, the smart fans will get that.
We'll go ahead and bring the kid beatboxes in Studio B.
And Carl Wesley Love Muhammad Weiss Jr., Leinenkugel III, Obama. Check the credits once.
Sam Saberi sends the next email in, and he says, I've noticed that there are people in the internet wrestling community, otherwise known as the IWC, that think TNA's pay-per-views have been better so far this year than WWE's. I disagree strongly. I mean, No Way Out 2009 was great. WrestleMania was okay. Backlash was good. Judgment Day was horrible. Extreme Rules was okay. So was The Bash and Night of Champions. SummerSlam was the best pay-per-view so far this year. What do you think of the pay-per-view war so far
I don't think there's a war. I don't think there's a war. TNA has mentioned that they are more interested in ratings for their television program.
They want to change their pay-per-view strategy.
Right. They may not go monthly anymore. I'll give you a TNA pay-per-view name, Failure Street. Instead of, Justice Road or Justice...
Victory Road is what it was called.
It was a failure. It was a terrible show. I was not entertained. whatsoever.
I don't know if there is a pay-per-view war. The real answer to that question is how much money they're making. Obviously, WWE is always going to be, at least in the near future, the person on top of the pay-per-view juggernaut. But TNA really does have some great pay-per-view shows, and I'm one who subscribes to the idea that they need to take those pay-per-views out into the world. In my opinion, they shouldn't be focusing on the Los Angeleses and the New Yorks or whatever the world. They should be focusing on the Milwaukees, the St. Louises, the Orlandos, which is where they are, obviously, the Minneapolis,
The Chicagos, the Charlottes.
Chicagos, yeah, the wrestling towns where they are going to get fans of wrestling, not necessarily fans of TNA, which isn't a problem. Isn't a problem at all. But, Bound for Glory.
I think there's
is in
a
Los
huge
Angeles
mistake
this year,
actually
which
going
is-
as far west as LA.
San Francisco, however, is a huge wrestling town.
It
Let's
is,
not
Cow
forget
Palace.
that. But that's a ways away from Los Angeles, California.
Not a ways away, it's in the same state.
California is pretty big. Maybe the third biggest state.
Possibly.
Alaska, Texas, Cali.
I believe so.
Going back to Cali. Marty from across the pond in Liverpool, England, sends in this email. Do you think WWE will unmask Rey Mysterio at the end of his contract? And what do you think about TNA knockout Angelina Love being released?
No. If Ray chooses not to take his mask off, he will stay without his mask coming off, and Ray will no-show that show. We've already talked about this before, because Ray has been demasked in WCW.
Oh, yeah. Money overtook principle then, didn't it?
But Ray's made enough money now. I don't think Ray will do it again for a second time.
Frank Lee sends this in. I see the main page has a pay-per-view of the month and show of the week poll at pwrshow.com. I would be interesting to see a match of the week or match of the month poll.
What about a fantasy pay-per-view a month? Is that up there too? Because I noticed that Meathead was listed up there, but not Damien.
Great idea. We'll explore that option. Joey sends our next email in, who says, I would like to know your opinion on if WWE would have Jericho and the Big Show retain their titles all the way to WrestleMania, and then have them face Edge and Christian, since Christian is a face and Edge is supposed to be a face when he returns.
Ooh, that's too long.
I don't think so.
Too long.
JBL was a world champion for 10 months.
But that's the World Championship. We're talking tag teams. We're talking that what's going to sustain Jericho all the way through.
Ray Martinez sends this in. I was reading that Hulk Hogan, thought he would be the big name, quote unquote, that TNA needs to make that next big step. Is Hogan really the guy for that? I'm 29. I've been watching wrestling since I was 6. I've also watched some of Hogan's most recent matches during his last run. They're terrible. Not convincing, and definitely doesn't even look remotely entertaining or like he could even keep it up with some big names like now. Now, a person like Undertaker, Edge, Jericho, those would be huge names. But Hogan, does he really see himself as that valuable to wrestling anymore? Ego, 3, 4 exclamation points. Now, interview was conducted. Hogan said they are one big star away from being that big organization. He never said that.
That's him positioning himself.
But he never said him. I mean, he knew
Yeah.
it was a cryptic message when he said it. But this, we tweeted this a couple of weeks ago. Every time I hear rumors of Hogan going to TNA, I chuckle. Because he does use that for positioning.
He's been in TNA
I don't know
already.
what, I mean, but again, let's look at the point I made from Hogan's standpoint. He made WWE, basically. He
Yeah.
made WCW, basically.
Fail. He didn't make WCW.
If he had not come into WCW in 1994, Nitro would have never happened. They would have never seen the rise that they had.
But
He
they
made
had a
WCW.
rise. They had a history way before that.
Yeah, but they were floundering as number 2, a distant number 2 most of the time.
They didn't care if they were 1 or 2.
Yeah, they
Ted
clearly
Turner,
did.
when they
That's why
grabbed Ted Turner, when they grabbed Eric Bischoff, and then when they grabbed Hogan, that's when they tried to be number 1. They were still a very active.
How could you say Hogan
Wrestling-
didn't turn the company? Hogan didn't make WCW.
He made them more money. He didn't make the company.
WCW became a household name when Hogan came over.
WCW was a house.
It was not.
So was the
It
NWA.
was not. The NWA was. WCW was not.
We
And
could
that
argue.
change happened
We
in
could argue this
1988.
point. We could argue
No,
this
I'm very
point for-
intrigued by how you could say Hogan didn't make
In depth next week.
WCW. Hogan made WCW. He made WWE. In his mind, and really for storytelling purposes, he can make TNA. And that would be, I think, his only motivation for going over there. And everybody would benefit from it, much like he benefited financially in WCW from making that jump. And he
Well,
would
he'd be
benefit
able to
as
pay
well.
his kids' legal bills.
Thank you very much for that email.
Wrap it
Final
up, Daddy.
Email of the day comes from, I don't even see a name here, so guess what? We're not going to read it. So send those emails to pwrshow.com. Include your name, where you're from. Those go to the top of the pile. We get dozens of emails every day, and we'll select the best to read on these programs. Remember, tonight We are live on 540 ESPN and PWRshow.com, video, audio, and all kinds of multimedia circus items at 8 o'clock Central Time. Special guest also coming on to that show. Go to PWRshow.com for all the details on that. Tonight, 8 o'clock p.m. live on 540 ESPN, streaming at PWRshow.com.
Hey, are you hot? Just say you're hot, man, because I'm hot.
No, it's actually nice in here. For the man they call me Dad, the Cause, and Dave Hero, this is Damian Nelson saying we'll see you again tonight on PWR on 540 ESPN.